So, welcome. Here's the new episode of the new podcast, Capital in Command. And I have a new guest, Ethan. And I want to give a little bit of background for this particular podcast since it's the first episode. What I'm trying to achieve on these episodes is to learn the life story of different people, different entrepreneurs, or different business people, or people not even business, but again, some kind of a life thing that changed their trajectory because they're so interesting, probably for everyone to know. And there are different lives, different trajectories, right? So that's what I'm trying to do. So I'm gonna leave it up to Ethan to tell his own story on this podcast episode. And he's an entrepreneur, and believe it or not, he has 6 kids already, even though he's young. So brave young soul. So I'll leave it up to you, Ethan, to tell your story. So tell us about yourself.
Well, thank you very much. And it's a pleasure to be on here with you. Definitely honored to be the first guest that you have on this podcast. I am Ethan Kearns, married to Michael Ann, and we're out of Northwest Arkansas and here in the United States. And we have kind of a wild story, to be honest with you. It's very different.
I hope so. It's a good one.
We run a few different companies, and we have, like you said, 6 children between the ages of 13 and 3. We have 3 nationally ranked wrestlers for our kids. I also coach youth wrestling. And then on top of that, the companies that I run, I'm a managing partner for ASAP Transport Solutions, which is a auto shipping company. So we ship cars all over the world. I have ownership in a roofing and construction company called Vantis Roofing and Construction, where we help with servicing the entire state of Arkansas, eastern Oklahoma, and southwestern Missouri. We have a wrestling consulting firm where we teach and train people how to run different wrestling tournaments. And also they compensate me for running them as well. And then have another company where we teach people how to develop passive income online, teaching them how to develop within our own infrastructure, their own business, but on a more of a part-time basis while they're still building other things and working their other careers and their jobs, how they can get past kind of those barriers and be able to create a retirement process for themselves where they may not see that opportunity in today's economy anymore on the current plan that they're on.
Yeah, that's a lot of companies.
Yeah,
It's a lot of companies. So how did you even start? I mean, where do you start?
Yeah,
Where do you start
absolutely.
to get all that? Because there's a lot
Yeah,
going on,
there's a
different
lot there.
styles, things, right?
Oh,
Completely different
100%.
things.
Different avenues and
Yeah,
everything
different
too.
avenues completely. Yeah.
And there's just a lot there. But honestly, if it wasn't for coaching, mentorship, guidance, right people in our life, we wouldn't be anywhere today. We don't think that we've arrived or we've become anything special by any means. But kind of taking a walk in the journey a little bit, I started opening up little businesses as early as 6th grade.
Oh, nice. Wow.
I had my own little version of Blockbuster, if you remember that company.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
big on movies, and I would literally rent out movies to other students in school. Don't know that it's technically supposed to happen per school policy, but hey, what they didn't know didn't hurt them.
Yeah.
Had my own rental specials. I had all sorts of stuff like that. I had a lawn and landscape company as a teenager. Had a lot of different things. But as about 8 years ago, my wife and I hit like our lowest point financially. We were with a massive international company for my traditional job, and I was doing really well. I was top 3 in the country in the role that I was in every month in, month out for close to 18 months. And then they were really big on promoting, but it was relocation based, and I turned down I think 13 roles in 4 months, and that doesn't look really good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I was talking with them, and I was on a plan and everything. There were a couple areas I was willing to relocate to, but not the others. And so they ended up letting me go because it wasn't in the career path that they had for me. And
Hmm.
that's part of corporate. It happens sometimes. I don't blame
Yep.
them. I got a little severance package, and it was just a big hit because I'd never been fired before. And then I took on a tech job that I've never been in. I was in that role for less than 90 days, and there was a person that was um, definitely my senior. She was one of the higher ups, and she had said some uncouth things, and there was some misunderstanding on compensation and some stuff like that. And so I spoke up about it. I'm a very outspoken individual, and she let me go the next day on day 88. And so I had made it through my 90 days. I had sold over $250,000 worth of profit for the company in that time, and my commission would have hit after 90 days. And so they didn't have to pay me the commission either. So we
Mm,
had two really big hits back to back.
mm-hmm,
And at this point, um, we had three children, and we were just discovering we were pregnant with number four. And we were really, really stressing out quite a bit because obviously I was the sole breadwinner for my family. My wife was a stay-at-home mom, and we were in a two-bedroom apartment.
mm-hmm,
And I started working pretty aggressively, pretty crazily. I had a small consulting firm I started up. I was working another full-time job. I was working as a server part-time, and I was driving Uber. About 90 hours, 95 hours a week, I was working. And so I became a non-present husband and father, but I was making sure that we still had house and home.
mm-hmm,
And it was definitely a struggle, and I didn't see really a way out.
mm-hmm,
And we were praying and praying, and faith is a big part of my journey. And we got connected with a couple out of Northwest Arkansas that really seemed larger than life to us. She walked away from a speech pathology career at 23. He walked away from a director of sales role at 27. And we met them, and they were in their 40s, and they were willing to kind of take us under their wing and coach us and guide us. And now, because we went on faith and we had somebody not give us a hand out, but a hand up, we trusted fast, and we were able to progress and learn and grow. And God just kind of opened up doors for us.
mm-hmm,
Within 6 months of we decided to move, and it made no financial sense, but it was just we felt that that's what we were led to do, and we had kind of a gut impulse. It's about 2 hours away from home to get closer to this couple to get more time around them. And when we did that, they really took us under their wing and guided us and directed us in a lot of ways, but things that didn't make sense happened. Um, Literally, if you look at in our faith walk, I'm a Christian, and in the Bible, it talks some about tithe and offering and sowing and reaping. And sowing and reaping's a secular term, not only a spiritual term. I mean, farmers, they sow and expect to reap a harvest. Well, we sowed in and were believing for growth, and we were being very specific with our words about where we were at. And randomly, if you will, we'd get deposits from a company that was a legitimate business transaction into our account, like a direct deposit. And the company, if you look it up, doesn't exist.
really,
And that
mm-hmm,
happened for 6 months in a row. We had exact amounts to what we needed or surplus of $100 to $200 to prevent us from losing our apartment. And
hmm,
we relocated to Arkansas. We got closer, and then within 6 months of that, our income went up about 300%.
hmm,
And we were able to pay off $250,000 of debt, and we were able to become fully self-employed within 18 months. And that was about January of 2020.
hmm.
And we
Right
continued to
before COVID.
right in the midst of it, and
Yeah.
pretty wild, the very beginning of COVID. And that normally people would be like, that's a terrible time to go into business for yourself. And most people like lost their shirt at that time is a phrase I hear a
Mm-hmm,
lot. But we had the right people in our ear, um, believing in us, speaking the right things over us. We had a culture and environment where we were around other entrepreneurs, and we were able to bounce things off of people. So we were in business for ourselves, but not by ourselves. And that was a big part of having the right support system and the right environment, along with going on faith and actually taking action. Faith is, again, not only a spiritual term, but it's a secular term. It's something that it requires action, it requires movement. You have to be willing to press forward. And we were willing to just do that. And all we really had going for us was heart and hustle. If you look at us, we didn't
mm-hmm,
have a lot more than that. But that's all that really matters is if you're willing to put in the work, and you're willing to press in, and you're willing to be humble enough to learn. And one thing led to another, and we ended up getting past and out of that situation, rented a house instead of an apartment, and then built that up. And then we were able to buy a home. And when we were able to do that, we felt like, oh, we were really making it. But it kind of slowed us down a little bit because we are like, wow, some of our dreams are actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be careful not to read your own press clippings, because as you get into those moments, if you don't stay humble and stay pressing in, you can get humbled again. And
Mm-hmm.
so things started to slow down a little bit. And as we took more action, reset our goals, and we pressed in more, God continued to bless. And then another business came on and another opportunity came on. And we learned that we can do so much more than what we think we can. And we don't have to work near as many hours as what people think you have to run so many different businesses and still be present. I went from having, I call it scroliosis. I heard it a while back, called scrolling on my phone or doom scrolling, because I'm just so burnt out and completely drained because I was working so many hours, to where I work less hours now and have a more flexible schedule running multiple companies than I did working a traditional job.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
Which is
able to,
ironic, right? It's just ironic
yeah,
that because sometimes people do their rat race and without realizing that sometimes they actually need to stop and realize what to do. Otherwise, they just keep on running in the same spot over and over and
100%.
over again, and burning themselves out. But I like that
Well,
your story that you have a perseverance built in
yeah,
you. Like like you would do whatever it takes. You would do the Uber. You would do whatever is needed. Right? It's like
yeah,
there's no job that is underneath you, which is perfect because that's how I'm agnostic, but that's probably how faith actually works, in my opinion. Because
100%.
again, I'm agnostic, but I believe in a higher being. I don't know what
Yeah,
that being is. I just believe into something else. So it's not about prayer, but it's more like you just manifest what you're trying to achieve, but you need to believe in it wholeheartedly. Otherwise, it's just never going to happen. But you need to
absolutely.
stop to think to do that. And I like that story. But in your case, you said like you have one business and another business. Are they even related to businesses? So how did you float from one business into another? The first one, I think it was just another couple that kind of took you under your wing, and maybe
Yeah,
that's how it unraveled, right? But then how did the next one came about?
for sure. Well, that initial business was teaching me how to develop a business outside of what I was doing full time.
Hmm.
And so I learned a lot about mindset of a business owner, about how to develop business properly, how to utilize the skills that I had, or find the things I was searching for, and how to leverage those things in the marketplace. And so learning more about those things and being able to work on that opened up my mind to other opportunities, which opened up for the networking aspect of connecting with other people.
Hmm.
And then a friend of mine I got connected with uh, introduced me to another gentleman that owned a massive transportation company, and that's ASAP Transport Solutions. And we got to talking, and I work more as a kind of a franchisee, if you will, off of their company. And we're all one entity, but I own my portion of the company. And I was looking for something that I could do during the day, that I could build something up more than what I could with traditional work. And I got connected with them and started building up a book of business there, 100% commission based,
Hmm.
which sounds crazy when you have a big family. But we're able to build that up, and then just right connections, right relationships, and ended up taking on other parts of other people's books, and taking over that because I was doing well with the customer service side. One of the
Hmm.
biggest things that helped me in sales, succeeding wise, is I focus on relational sales rather than transactional sales. I'm
Hmm.
helping them
Hmm.
find what their need is, realize that it's what I have for a solution, and I provide the solution for them, versus
Hmm.
just trying to push and push and push. When you're
Hmm.
doing that, you're not really creating a relationship, nor are you creating customer service and client satisfaction. You're creating more of a, well, let me push this down your throat and let me get my money, and then we'll part ways. I have
Yeah.
customers that I've had for over 15 years in different businesses, because I was able to um, press in with them and keep relationships with them in different capacities, and they followed me in every business I've been a part of. So keeping that relational component was huge. And then I was able to build that book of business up. And now that's been a very big primary part of what I do during the day, is helping ship cars all over the world, from classics to luxuries, daily drivers,
Hmm.
dealer trades for dealerships, fleet moves, all of that. And we have a freight and LTL division as well. And I have my team kind of handle that
Hmm.
there. And then from there, continued to progress, and wrestling became a thing where I was
Well, because
My
probably kids, right? Or
yeah,
maybe you were a wrestler yourself when
I
you
was
were
a
young.
wrestler in Oklahoma
Yeah,
growing
yeah,
up,
yeah.
and then my son took interest in it about 3 years ago, and I got roped into coaching, like happens often,
Yeah,
voluntarily.
yeah.
And then I fell back in love with the sport. It's something I hadn't done in so long, hadn't wrestled over 20 years, and it had been a wild ride. And I'm 36 now, my wife's 35, to give you guys age perspective. So I hadn't wrestled since my sophomore year of high school. And realized I just loved it again. And
Mm,
then he's now my 11-year-old son. Then my now 13 and 9-year-old daughters, they saw how much fun he was having and they got involved in it. And
mm,
then now my 7-year-old and 5-year-old sons are both doing it. And our 3-year-old daughter is just having fun. But they do other sports and they're involved in music and things like that as well. But then from there, I just started talking. And because I'm good at details, good at organization, I'm good at developing systems and processes.
mm,
I got into running tournaments and helping run tournaments. And from there, people started asking me to help out, and I developed a business off that so I could have the tax advantages of a business
mm,
and still be able to continue to build out from there.
mm.
And
Yeah.
then I had been helping kind of behind the scenes some friends start up a roofing and construction company. And more than anything, was just giving advice on direction and marketing strategy and stuff like that, just as a friend. And they came to me and they were like, "Hey, we know you have a full schedule, but we still want you to be a part of this. And we
Mm,
think that you could bring some value. And we of course want to reward you for that. How can we make this work?" And so we got to
mm,
talking, and I got a partial ownership in the company, and I'm the director of growth and strategic partnerships for Vantis Roofing and Construction.
mm,
And I was able to help out with that, and now I help them develop referral programs and creating client satisfaction and helping develop growth there, and getting into different markets and connections so we can drive a good quality product and service while also maintaining very economical pricing and
mm,
beating out the competition in that fashion too. So a lot of different avenues, a lot of different things, but it all led from being willing to go on faith and take action, having the motivation not be the thing that controls me, but being able to keep that in front of me. Because in our education system that we have here in America, we're taught do whatever you want, be whoever you want to be, dream big.
yeah,
And about
yeah.
high school, okay, it's time to be realistic now. What do you want to do versus how do you want to live?
Mm,
And I was really fortunate to find some people that were teaching me you need to think about the life you want to live and work backwards from there. What's going to get you to that?
mm,
And it gave me a different, fresh perspective of, well, doing those things is not what I want to be my identity. I want my identity to be I'm a passionate follower of Christ that leads people to the kingdom. I want my identity to be that I'm a good husband, a nurturing, loving father, that I am a strong business person, and that I affect change in people's lives. So if I
mm,
want that, what is going to yield me that? What's going to lead me to those things? And so working through that and then having somebody that I can submit to, which a lot of people find that to be a dirty word, submission. Submission literally just means under the same mission. So finding somebody that's in life more where I want to be and being willing to be very transparent, very open with them and allow them to speak into our life and give perspective, because perspective is one of the most beautiful and powerful things. Even if you look at sports, look at the NFL, there's coaches on the field, there's separate coaches for specialties, and there's a coach in the press box. All different vantage points, all
mm,
different
yeah.
perspectives, and people pay big money for that different perspective. And so having that in your life is unbelievably valuable and has shifted and transitioned a lot of how we've done things and led us to a lot of opportunities.
Mm. Yeah, which is amazing. I think you actually nailed it. That the identity is what defines you, because that's how you persevere to begin with, right? Because you wanted to be a great father, which means that you have to be a provider, right? Because you have kids, so your wife doesn't work. You're it. Nobody else can provide, right? You can't just sit on
Yeah,
the couch, drink beer, and do nothing. No, you
exactly.
actually have to provide. So you will do whatever it takes. Same thing that interesting playing to the identity, because you jump from business to business. If you think about it, going from the Uber driver doing something else, then into the transportation, which is completely different business altogether. It's like you need to be brave to get in there. But then you go into the wrestling. Well, it kind of relates to kids, which is okay, right?
Yeah.
But again, you're branching off. But then you go into the roofing company, which is again completely different. Has nothing to do with transportation or wrestling, like completely different things. And yet, it all comes back to your identity. That what you said. So exactly, you nailed it. It needs to be identity first, then you can do whatever will happen around you. You
Yeah.
build your life around your identity, because if your identity is like, oh, I want to be lazy, I don't want to do work, that's what will happen to you, right? But if you, again, if you're building identity, I need to be a good worker, that's pretty much what you will be. Not a great
Mhm.
entrepreneur, you will be a great worker. And that's unfortunate for our school system. That's what they teach you. They
Yeah.
teach you to be a great worker, not entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur myself. That's why I'm trying to teach my kids
Yeah.
how to be entrepreneur. So they take my like taking me as an example, but we'll see how that goes. So which actually leads me to the good question for you. So now you already kind of, so you established your identity when you were younger. You were trying to establish it. You live through your life right now up to this moment. Knowing that, how do you go back? Let's say if you were to go back in time, what would you recommend yourself, knowing what happened right now? What would you recommend to younger self is the path to do, or the better trajectory, or you would not change anything? Like what is your approach to this?
Yeah.
What do you think would happen?
Well, there's a couple different ways of approaching that. I mean, I believe that everything does happen for a reason, and you learn things based off your choices and consequences. So, I mean, I wouldn't change a lot of things that happen.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I was a very competitive football player, very competitive soccer player, very competitive wrestler, very big in music, all those things growing up. And I pursued certain paths that if I would have pursued a different path, it would have led to something else, but maybe I wouldn't have married my wife and had my
Mm-hmm.
kids
True. Yeah.
or things like that. So it's dangerous to live in the past, but it's very good to reflect on the past and learn how we can move forward because the past will always repeat itself if we don't learn from the things that have happened. And
That is
so
true. Yeah.
a couple things that I would say that I would tell myself if I was younger, knowing what I know now, kind of thing, would be one, trust faster. We're in a very antitrust world right now, and learning to be a fruit inspector, inspecting the fruit on the tree, so to speak, of what people have, what the results they have in their life, the kind of person they are, to be able to identify the right people and then trust faster. Also, realizing how you treat yourself because a lot of people are really big on making sure that they're being the best example they can be for others and helping other people. And they're a great person. And that's awesome. But they're talking down to themselves the entire time, even making jokes about it, maybe, or which I was guilty of. Or they're belittling themselves and their belief of what they can actually accomplish or limiting themselves
Mm-hmm.
because they see success around them, they see things happening around them, but that will never happen for me.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to understand that if you treated your friends the way that you treat yourself, what level of friends would you have? And you've got to be willing to put put money on yourself, bet on yourself, to be able to grow. And then lastly would just be um, don't be afraid of what's happening around us. Don't be afraid of politics that are happening. Don't be afraid of all the different things that are happening in the world today. You can't live in fear. You have got to make sure
Mm-hmm.
that you're focused
That
on
is so
what is
true.
the mission, what are we going toward, what's the goal, and then okay, how do we work through here and put the blinders on like a horse in a horse race? This is my path. This is the direction I need to go. And if there's people in my life that I maybe need to distance myself from because they're distracting or deterring. I heard a long time ago
Mm-hmm.
there's a crab in the bucket mentality where
Mm-hmm.
but
Drag you down. Yeah.
yeah, if you put
Yeah.
two or more, they'll start dragging themselves down. And
Yeah.
you realize really quick whenever you start to progress and move forward, how people don't want the worst for you. They want you to succeed. But when you start to step out of the pack and move forward, you kind of shine a light on the mediocrity that they're living in because they don't want to do the work to get out of their situation. They just
Mm-hmm.
want the reward. And we're in kind of a microwave society now where we want it now versus we want to be willing to do the work and think a little bit more long term. So factoring those things, I know that's a few things there, but factoring those key things when I was younger would have saved a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of heartache.
Yeah, that's so true. Which actually leads me. I mean, I don't even have that as a prepped question, but just out of curiosity, how would you, let's say, recommend, because you have an entrepreneurial spirit, which
Mhm.
is again not that typical in our society.
No.
So if somebody is listening to it, and let's say they've been conditioned that, okay, your path is you need to go through school, they need to go to college, then find a good job and stay in that good job. Okay, that's the path that pretty much 99% of people hear, right? Because
Hmm.
that's the path that school system gives us.
Yeah.
What would you recommend to them to at least open up their mind to possibilities that it's not the only path? There are other
Mhm.
things along the way. Like, what would you recommend? How would you characterize
Yeah.
it?
Well, again, going back to looking at the life you want to live, if going to college is the route, which college is a business, there's no doubt about it. College is definitely a business of making money, not making you profitable and fully educated. It's going to help you learn, it's going to help you grow, but a lot of it's generalized education. And like when I took
Mm-hmm.
some business classes in college, I don't have a college degree. I went for 2 years, and my wife went for one. And there's nothing wrong with a college degree. It's a great thing. If you're going to be a surgeon, I don't want you cutting me a deal because you cut classes.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, yeah.
I want to make sure you got your license there. But if you're not going to apply it, realize what it is. You can use it for a year for networking, maybe, and develop some
Mm-hmm.
great connections, get some experiences, and learn things. But it's not necessarily the only way. And the trades are actually a phenomenal way of getting education quickly and making a really strong income for yourself, or even starting a business for yourself. It's very underlooked and people think less of it. But I mean, being a plumber is all it's cracked up to be. And there's your dad joke for the day. But there are some very good things that can happen from those things. But if you're trying to find something else, especially with we're in a technology era where we can find information at the fingertips really easy with the supercomputer we have in our pockets here with our phones.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Research, check it out. Don't rely on Reddit and Yelp and things like that as your only source, though. Make sure it's accredited sources that you're getting information
Mm-hmm.
from. Don't be afraid to ask. I mean, I reached out to VPs, CEOs, presidents of different companies, and some of them were willing to take my call. Some of them weren't. But reaching out and be like, hey, I know you don't know me from Adam, but I am so impressed with your story and how you've accomplished XYZ. Give a detailed, like you actually do care. I'd love to get 5 minutes of your time just to learn a little bit more about what you've accomplished. Could I buy you a cup of coffee?
Mm-hmm.
Simple things like that. Of if you're on the fence, don't commit to something for 4 years of your life. That's thousands upon thousands of dollars. If you're not sure of what you're trying to accomplish, take a year off, experience some things, develop some income, learn some things. There's a lot of avenues you can go, and there's so much opportunity, especially in the US, for different things that you can do. But you have to be willing to actually critically think. A good friend of mine named Paul said, you have to try, fail, critically think, and adjust. You've got to be willing to fail, and fail is an acronym. It means first attempt in learning. That's how you succeed in
Yeah,
business to grow.
yeah.
And the biggest successes are the biggest failures. And so we have to learn that and be able to embrace that.
Which is actually exactly that's what our. I mean, this is what our school system emphasizes, that in order for you to not fail, you need to get the good grades. But good grades is not how life operates, right? You actually need to fail, then you'll become better. That's the only way to get better. I mean, how we walked, right? We just kept on walking, falling, kept on walking, falling until we started to walk. Then how
Yeah.
do you run? Same exact way. You just try to run, you fall, you try to run again, right? As we
Yep.
grow up, we'll do the same thing over and over and over again, but that's the only way for us to learn. We need to fail, but not catastrophic fail. It's not like you just run off the cliff just to see if you can fly. That's not what you're trying to do, right? But you need to
Yeah.
be within the boundaries. You still need to fail though to learn. And school does not emphasize that. They say good grades is the only way, even though as if good grades equal to good income or good actual life experience. It
Yeah.
doesn't, unfortunately. That's why so many young, very smart kids end up like, oh, I don't have any job. Yes, because it's not what is required.
Absolutely. Well, and
Unfortunately,
I'll
right?
say I made great grades because I worked my butt off. I was not the smartest kid there. I was intelligent, but I worked my butt off to get it, and I got tutoring help when I needed it and things like that.
Hmm.
I made good grades, not your typical entrepreneur, to be honest. But the thing that did teach me is work ethic, and it taught me how to create systems and processes really well because
Hmm.
I had to systematize things if I was going to be very involved in music and sports while I was involved in school while I was once I turned about 14, I started working 30 hours a week as well.
Nice already.
So because I wanted to be able to pay for my own stuff and I wanted to have a
Mm-hmm.
car, I wanted to have a phone, I wanted to have those things, and it wasn't just gifted to me, which I'm very thankful for now. Because yes, would that have given me other opportunities if I didn't have to work for that money and I could have pursued athletics a little more aggressively or something like that? Sure. But it taught me a phenomenal pillar of work ethic.
Hmm.
And whenever people are thinking about these different things, and education is important. I'm not knocking on education, but
Hmm.
it's not the only path and the only direction. And they say C's get degrees. In my house, you can have A's or B's and you're good. If you have C's, that means you're not actually trying that hard. And
Hmm.
so when we talk to our kids and we're like, hey, give your best at everything you put your mind to, put everything into it, give everything you can so you can grow and succeed. But don't let that become your identity that, well, I have to get straight A's, this is everything, because you'll put a whole bunch of extra pressure on yourself. And
Yeah.
that can easily translate into the job world where, well, I have to be perfect at everything. You're not going to be perfect at anything. You can't give 100% at anything because you had to sleep at some point. You have to eat at some point. You have to
Yeah.
use the restroom. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a silly misnomer that people think. You just have to give the best that you can give, and the rest will come.
That is so true. That is so true. So at this point, I would probably say, what is your next chapter? What do you think is waiting for you? Because obviously you're so like, with you, it's probably unpredictable. You will come across some other business as you go along. But what do you think is the next chapter for you?
Yeah, well, we definitely plan on diversifying and having multiple businesses just because we feel that's kind of where we're led to help people and create impact and influence outside of our children. But my main passion and goal is helping people. So if people wanted to reach out to me directly, they definitely can. And if I can help find a good fit with what I do, great. If I can't, maybe my network can connect you to the right people.
Hmm.
But my focus and passion right now is finding enough people that want to be in business with me and do things with me that I can develop more of a legacy for my family. And legacy is something that I don't take lightly. It's not something that it's cliche. It's something that has to outlive me. And
Hmm.
legacy is not what you leave for your kids monetarily. It's what you leave in your kids.
Hmm.
And how do you what stands behind whenever you go on? Is the name going to stay standing? And so I want to create as much impact and influence as possible. So my primary focus is finding people that are looking to develop something more for themselves and teaching and coaching and guiding them, connecting them with the team that I've been a part of, and showing them how much they can really accomplish if they get out of their own way and they're willing to be humble and learn. Even if they've already succeeded in life, a lot of times you have a hard time finding a path to retirement or a path to just creating options again. And I can say going from being broke, busted, and disgusted with my life to doing fairly well and being blessed and fortunate enough to be able to be present with my kids for most everything. I don't make every event, but I make at least 85, 90% of every single school, music,
Hmm.
wrestling, whatever event that they have. And that power of presence is huge, but they have to see us win too. So finding people and continuing to put goals out there in front of my kids for them to see us hitting so that they know that they always need to continue to build towards something and win. That's really my focus right now is finding more people to help them win and letting my family see, hey, we created change and impact in other people's lives. That's the kind of people we're going to be.
Beautifully said. So, thank you very much for coming in, telling your story. And at this point, I think we can wrap it up for today. It was a great story. And hopefully, maybe next year we can meet up again and see how that next chapter materialized for you and what else you came across.
Sounds great.
So,
Well, thank you for the
cool.
opportunity.
Yeah. Thank you, Ethan. Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.